Hey everyone, it's Dr. Rick. Today's unboxing is on VSL 3. VSL 3 is a very potent probiotic. The probiotics, I have a couple of different videos on them, but check out the links to the other videos. Probiotics in a nutshell are usually useful for getting your microbiome, that means the gut flora, balanced in favor of good bacteria. If you have an overwhelming amount of good bacteria in your gut, then when the bad guys get introduced, which happens occasionally, parasites, fungi, yeast, and bacteria, it might be to your advantage if you have a lot of good bacteria. So that's what your microbiome is, and that's what probiotics do. But I am of the camp where I believe that if you continue to allow or feed that gang of probiotics, your microbiota, if you keep on feeding them different workers, they might actually evolve. There's something called a biofilm, and it's pretty cool. Usually you'll think about biofilms in pathologic bacteria like Lyme's disease, Borrelia, those little spirochetes that attack and give weird symptoms for Lyme. They actually make and secrete this film that protects not only the Borrelia, not only the Lyme cousin, or the Lyme itself, but it also shelters other bacterias, bad or good. And that way when the white blood cells come by and try to find bad guys, they'll look over the group and they'll say, oh, they're just good bacteria, and they'll skip over them. That's my theory. But the microbiome does protect, and when you have this living microbiome in your body, in your large intestine and your small intestine, then you will have, if you have a large amount of good bacteria, then again you can fight the bad guys as they come in. The other objective is to avoid eating the bad guys. So washing hands, washing your food, important. I wouldn't be obsessive compulsive with it. There's this theory that the clean hypothesis is when you don't allow exposure to soil, snot, other kids, play objects. The kid or the child becomes very irritated when they come in contact with the bacteria eventually. Supposedly a little bit of exposure to these smaller bacteria over the course of time gets you a better immune system. So if you haven't had that opportunity, or if you have, say, big disease like irritable bowel syndrome. Irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS, is really tough because it's usually one of the other symptoms and or diseases that comes along with fibromyalgia, ulcerative colitis, reflux, fatigue, even pelvic inflammatory disease. So when you have IBS, that's where the data comes in handy, because VSL3 has been studied. This is pretty cool because it has been studied in the use of IBS and UC, or ulcerative colitis. The people that took probiotics, especially this one since it was studied, fared better than people that did not take any probiotics. So I think it is important to have a good gut microbiome, and this is packed with bacteria. I think it's 112 billion. That's a lot compared to some of the ones that I buy at Fruitful Yield in the refrigerator section. And the cool thing about some of these, I don't think it has it in here. Wait a minute, it might. No, it doesn't. Some of these VSLs from Alpha Sigma, I saw carried a little indicator. It's a strip that when this box would have been exposed to hot weather, the strip would go into the red, telling you or warning you that there's a problem with this shipping. And this company, because they have been studied and they have been approved by very few insurance companies, they want the specimens pure. And you have to ship it overnight in a refrigerated section or a container. And that, again, the mark, probably the mark is in the shipping container if you buy straight from the company. So that's pretty cool. Now, whether it hurts your regular probiotic to not refrigerate it, well, I always believe you should refrigerate it. And true, when you, the counter argument would be, you cannot control the way it's shipped, as far as if it's the summer sun from 2,000 miles away in the factory going to northern United States, or the southern United States, or the West Coast. But a good company will probably take that into account. The other thing that you should know with probiotics, and again, if you pay for this, you will pay for it because it is expensive. And I like the packets, because the packets you can actually cut up and divide as far as how much you want to introduce to your kids, and it can be given to kids. A kid cannot swallow this capsule, I don't think. So it can be given to kids, but it has to be, I would slowly break into it. And if you have it in packet form, you can kind of get a feel for the packet and dump as little or as much as you want, and then slowly advance the stomach, the gut, the small intestine, large intestine to tolerate more and more probiotic. I think it can be irritating when you introduce a big gang of probiotics all at once. It's different. They're all good, hopefully, but you still have to get used to that bacteria coming in and being adapted into your microbiota. The other thing that's also important, that's why I like to go with companies that I don't spend too much, but I have to go to the either Whole Foods or Fruitful Yield refrigerated section and look and see who's on sale, calculate how much it costs per capsule and see how many billions of bacteria are in the capsules, and then see if they have the right formulation of at least 4 different bacterias. This has a plethora of different bacterias, which is really helpful. The other thing is their standards are high. You have to realize that if you take a cheap probiotic, and the companies are supposed to be watchdogging themselves, you can actually get bacteria in your probiotic that have antibiotic resistance. Now, if you don't believe or take antibiotics, that's good for you. But if you support a company that doesn't automatically check batches and report to the public that they have looked for antibiotic-resistant bacteria, you can't have that. But we're trying to cut down on antibiotic-resistant bacteria. I actually think the veterinary medicine folks, animal farms, will actually use more antibiotics than humans or human doctors, but I really think that we're getting into a really world of resistance, which is why if you have problems with recurrent infections and you need to be hit with multiple antibiotics, it is important to get on a probiotic. I do a probiotic every day. There are some nice studies with probiotics that show, in animal studies, when you take bacteria from the gut of a fat mouse and you put it inside the gut of a skinny mouse, the skinny mouse becomes fat, and vice versa. So the microbiota in the fat mice can sometimes call on or cause a problem with obesity in the skinny mice. The cool thing is if you can get the skinny mouse bacteria and put it into the fat mice, you theoretically, if you do that with humans, might be able to reduce obesity. That's just one aspect. There's many different reasons for obesity, but that would be a fecal transplant. And that sounds gross, but they are sterile, I guess. However, if you do it this way, just take pills or powder, why not? You can also do foods, kimchi, yogurt, anything with tofu, pickled foods. They all have bacteria. Just have to make sure that they have the good bacteria. So I don't know I would spend this kind of money, but if you happen to have one of the insurance companies that cover VSL 3, that'd be great. I used to prescribe VSL double strength number 3. That is about 200 billion. That's a lot, and I don't think you can lose out on that. I obviously can't unbox or open up this capsule. I can't take this capsule, I'm not going to right now, but that's the way the capsules look. So not too big. Well, let me just see what it smells like, just to let you know. I don't smell anything, but now I'll have to eat that. So I currently am on an antibiotic, believe it or not. I don't like taking antibiotics. I haven't taken antibiotics in so long, but I was bitten by Ixodes tick, and that's the one that carries Borrelia. My tests are pending, but knock on wood, I hopefully will not have Lyme's disease, but I am on antibiotics for at least a month. Hopefully that's all, but until my tests come back. But it's hard to take antibiotics and probiotics together. I'm trying to sneak it in. Hopefully the probiotics I have been taking over the course of the last couple of years will have established a good microbiota that will live through the doxycycline. Anyway, so that is my take on VSL number 3. I think it's a good company. Check it out online. The website is, where is it? Alpha Sigma, I believe. Alpha Sigma, it's on here somewhere, but I'll try to put it on the link down below. and you can check them out. Pretty decent. It even says kosher and halal certified. That's helpful. So they're putting a lot of quality into here. There is the website right there. So you can look it up yourself, but I'll put a link down below. Don't forget to subscribe to me to find out when I do new videos. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next unboxing.